This is Trek Zone's Talkin' Science.
This is the Bite-Size Podcast, catching you up on everything you need to know in the realm of science and space news from Australia and around the world. From Trek Zone, Australia's unofficial home of Star Trek, science and space news, and the Australian space industry. Plenty to sink our teeth into this week, from Artemis to SpaceX, fast radio bursts, and Martian discoveries. So let's get straight into it. Artemis 1 passed a critical fueling test on Wednesday ahead of a potential September 27 third launch attempt. A liquid hydrogen propellant leak at a quick disconnect on the SLS core stage forced the abandonment of the initial launch attempts on September 3. Engineers replaced two seals in the days that followed, and this week's test proved that the patch had worked, however not without further issues. The leak at the quick disconnect popped up again, but after warming it up, the disconnect reseated, which reduced the leak rate to acceptable levels. A pre-pressurization test also unearthed a small but acceptable leak. We're waiting for a NASA media conference to confirm the next steps for the beleaguered first moonshot attempt in 50 years. Meanwhile, for the American Space Agency, they're just days away from deliberately crashing a spacecraft into an asteroid to work out whether humanity can have a first line of defense against such potential impacts in the future here on Earth. On September 26, NASA will crash the Double Asteroid Redirection Test probe into an asteroid to disrupt its path. The space rock isn't predicted to collide with Earth, nor is any other known asteroid or large object. This DART test is specifically testing the kinetic deflector technique, essentially shoving a space rock out of the way of our planet. Hopefully we can develop this, as I said, into a first line of defense. Well, NASA's Mars InSight lander can detect meteoroids as they enter the Martian atmosphere and determine its crash site with the assistance of the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter. Experts were able to triangulate the exact impact crater that these meteors made, which is a first for impacts on a planet other than Earth. Meteors create shockwaves when they enter Mars's atmosphere and crash at high speeds. The researchers analysed the seismic and acoustic waves created by 4 meteoroid impacts and estimated a crash site, which was then confirmed by the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter. The researchers say these kinds of impacts can be used to study the structure of the planet's atmosphere and interior. Researchers at the Queensland University of Technology on NASA's Perseverance rover mission are part of the team that has collected the first datable Mars rock samples, providing a benchmark for mapping the history, evolution and changing climate of the red planet. Getting tricky with all these words without my auto cue on this trip. Published in Science, the NASA-led team discovered olivine cumulant, igneous rock, below the sedimentary delta in Jezero Crater. Long-term planning for the NASA Perseverance mission and past guest on Trek Zone, Dr. David Flannery from the QUT Faculty of Science and QUT's Planetary Surface Exploration Research Group, was an author on papers documenting the discovery. He said this would allow researchers to date the samples that NASA wants to bring back to Earth, providing a better understanding of warmer and wetter climatic periods in Mars's past and any evidence for past life that may be discovered by the mission. Well, astrophysicists are one step closer to understanding fast radio bursts thanks to analysis of nearly 2,000 bursts from Fast Radio Burst 2020 1124A. In 2 separate papers, the researchers say that they believe the FRB may originate from a complex magnetised site, while the team do note that it does not appear to be from a type of neutron star called a magnetar, which have commonly been suggested as the source of FRBs. They say it is possibly a binary system consisting of a magnetar and a BE star with a disk. That's a star hotter, larger and rotating faster than our Sun. Fast radio bursts are pulses of radio frequency electromagnetic radiation, first discovered in 2007. Although several hundred have been found, the physical nature and central engine of fast radio bursts remain unclear. The authors suggest that future research should probe BE X-ray binaries in search of more fast radio burst signals. Well, SpaceAustralia.com is reporting on fascinating new research by archaeologists in the development of machine learning. A new research paper from the International Space Station Archaeological Project explored and applied a deep learning-based computer vision pipeline to automate the identification of astronauts in photographs taken aboard the International Space Station. Researchers used machine learning to perform the task of identifying astronauts in photographs in order to simplify the task. In the end, the program reached 78.69% accuracy in identifying astronauts in the thousands of images correctly. It's all part of taking what we know about traditional archaeology, which, is using a trowel and digging in the ground, and applying new technology to learn by studying photographs. And that is a very simple breakdown of what they're hoping to achieve in this new field of space archaeology, using imagery instead of having to go there and look at these places and dig in the ground. Well, SpaceX's Starship Mars rocket is getting some work done to gear up for its forthcoming orbital launch attempt. The test flight will be the first orbital mission for Starship and is aimed for late October to November. Booster 7 and Starship 24 will be the vehicles of choice. Both are prototype versions of Starship's Super Heavy first stage and Starship Upper Stage. Static fire tests have been conducted over the past 6 weeks, with this week's test fire of 7 of 33 Raptor engines, the biggest yet. Starship has a NASA contract to be the first crewed lunar lander for Artemis. Well, Dr. Brad is back every first Tuesday of the month for a complete dive into these stories making science and space news across the past month. I've got your bite-sized wrap-up, just like this podcast, every other Tuesday. Doing it this week live from Melbourne for the AFL Grand Final weekend as my phone goes off once again. We'll turn that off for a moment. To tell you about TrekZone membership, it's available for the less than a cup of coffee a month. It's available via the join button under every video on YouTube or the trek.zone/support. You can also contribute to the 20th anniversary fund as well, just on a once-off if membership isn't your thing. That's the thanks button under every TrekZone video, or the trek.zone/PayPal. Send us a donation a contribution direct to our PayPal, and that is going to go directly to the 20th anniversary celebration fund, which is going to be a massive event next July, celebrating 20 years of TrekZone. What did you think of this week's stories? Leave a comment and let's have a chat about them. Very interesting stuff, from Mars to Fast Radio Burst, Artemis and Starship as well. Plenty of stuff coming up in the realm of science and space. I'm so excited for everything coming up, especially the Australian space industry as well. We can't forget that Sydney has just been announced as the host for the International Astronautical Conference in 2025. So looking forward to all of that. Dr. Brad and I will have that complete wrap-up in the weeks ahead, and I'll catch you for another edition of Talking Science, Bite Size, real soon.